Okay, there we go. Yeah, so uh, I guess you can start with how you got the band together and how you came to Minneapolis from Iowa.
Yeah, I think it was 1969 or 70, and I was 20. What? Yeah, 1969. No, I'm sorry, 69. No, 79. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Thanks for catching me on that. Yeah. So 1979, moved here. Actually, I was 20 years old and had and had a newborn baby.
Oh,
And me and my girlfriend and my 4-month-old baby moved up here, moved in with a friend of mine in St. Paul, and we lived up
okay.
in the attic of his apartment.
So how did you meet Gary and Randall?
Well, the guy that I moved in with was a sound guy, and I'd known him because he was a sound guy in this band called Dakota, which was a glam rock band in Iowa. That when
Okay.
I was 16 years old, I used to, it was like 80 miles away. I used to hitchhike and hang out with them all
Oh,
weekend and go on the road with them. And
yeah.
they'd have me come play the guitar on the last song of the night. And I'd play with my teeth in the mic stand or whatever. And people were amused because I was so young. And,
Right.
you know, back then, I think by the time I was 14, I could play Hendrix or Jimmy Page or any of that guitar god stuff.
Yeah.
But when I moved up here, it became more about songwriting. I moved up here, and he wanted me to see this bass player who played in a band that he used to run sound for, and I really liked the bass player and thought that we'd make a good unit. And so it was a 3-piece band, just guitar, bass, and drums. I like
Right.
the simplicity of 3-piece because it's like a piece of pie. If there are 3 pieces, each piece is bigger. So
Right.
there's like more dynamics. Like if you see a 3-piece band live, you can hear what each guy is playing. You get 2 guitars and a keyboard, or sometimes 3 guitars. It's like you can't even tell. Some of these records you listen to and you can't even tell what's going on because there's so much stuff on the tracks. So he was playing in a cover band, and the band that I was referring to, Dakota, one of the guys in the band owned a recording studio, and I had lived in the recording studio when I was 17 years old, and I
Okay.
kind of gathered my chops from midnight to 8 in the morning until one of the other owners caught me sleeping in the drum booth, and then they
Oh.
booted me out of there.
Oh.
So, but so then when I put the Crash Street Kids together, I went in the studio and cut a song, and it really impressed people. So it was easy to get a PA and get stuff going for the band.
So when you guys made that album, was that you just immediately made that album, or did you have to play live a lot first?
We played out for about 2 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then Playboy interviewed that record, reviewed it, and compared us to the Who, Yardbirds, and the Raspberries.
Wow.
And when I got signed to MCA, in the band Melvin James,
Yeah.
all of the A&R guys that heard that record said they would have all signed me. Warner
Wow.
Brothers, EMI, Geffen, because they said, oh, that was really happening back then. But we were just happy to have somebody that would put it out.
Right.
Even though, if I would have known better, I should have tried to shop it around a little bit, because we just took it to one label and
Right.
they picked us up.
Yeah, I was curious about the label Fat City Records because I noticed that it was only you and the Flamin' O's that were on it,
Yeah.
and it didn't last very long.
Yeah, it was a little, I'm not going to say it was mafia around, but you know, it was a little wild.
So you guys probably played with a lot of well-known Minneapolis bands, like on the same bill, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, I played with the Suburbs and the O's and opened up for Iggy Pop and
Wow.
Tommy Two Tone and what's the, I don't know, a handful of artists that were just breaking out that hadn't quite made it yet, but came on to do really well. The Replacements used to open for us all the time.
I was about to say that a lot of there's a really similar sound in the Little Girls album that you can hear. It's kind of the same thing that they were doing at the time, or they were gonna do.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how that happened exactly, but yeah.
Did you guys primarily play locally, or did you play around the U.S. too?
Primarily locally in Chicago and South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas City.
So back then, when you were with the band, uh, was there ever a time where there was major label attention, like where you got contacted by a label, or did that not happen until later in the 80s?
Not really, but we did open up for a band called Missing Persons.
Yes.
In Chicago at I think is it Park Place? I can't remember what the name of the club was, but Rolling Stone was there, and I remember they totally screwed us, push the monitors way up, so I had to stand in like a 12-inch spot where everything was in there. So I just told my bass player, I said, forget it. We won't even use the monitors then. So we stood on top of the monitors, and then we just jumped off the stage and played on the floor and just climbed around all of the stuff and ignored all the tape that they put on the floor to try to keep us in one spot. But Rolling Stone said that we blew them away, that it was a really impressive show and got our information and stuff. And
that's
so
cool.
That was cool. I think they reviewed us as well.
So if you considering how many like major label bands that you would have opened up for back then, did you have interactions with them too, or not really?
Some, yeah.
Is there any like stories?
Yeah. Probably shouldn't tell them. Just a lot of drugs back then, and
oh yeah.
So it's kind of a wild time. But not, I didn't have a major interaction with them, just a little bit here and there. I didn't go on to be longtime friends with any of them or anything.
Okay. Yeah, because I was about to say I'm a fan of Missing Persons, at least their first album, especially.
Yeah, I know when they were doing a sound check, their drummer was pissed at the guitar player or something because he bought some pants or something and didn't buy him a pair when he had to be at the sound check, and they got a big argument about it and were fighting about it. And the girl singer in the band, she was arguing with everybody too. It was a little dysfunction going on in the band.
Yeah.
It happens,
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember the first time I heard the album, or the first track that I heard was Mystery Girl. I know that I got goosebumps when you like the first note, or the eerie breathing. like the like that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It was all of my favorite bands too were English bands mostly.
Right.
So naturally, when I perfected my vocal technique, it was a little bit on the English side. And I remember one time we were playing a show, we were like 6 nights in a row, and we're staying at this club, and we were booked as a band from England off tour.
Oh.
And so for 6 nights hanging out at the parties and during the gig, I had to speak in an English accent the whole
Oh.
time. And it was very difficult not to fall out of character.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
So do you have favorite songs off the album, or are they all kind of equal?
You know, I like Into You a lot. And Ticking Away is kind of sentimental for me because it's about my grandfather.
Oh.
Um, and actually, when I was singing it, I was kind of choking up a little bit, I think, around the third verse when we cut it. But you know, I mean, that song has a sound, and people have identified with the sound. I always thought that I should remix it, but then it wouldn't sound like it sounded then, and that's part of
Yeah.
what it
Right.
sounds like. So
I was curious also. I used to own a compilation that 92 KQRS put out in the like 81 or something, and I know I think the song that's on there from you guys was Life So Cold,
okay,
and the version that was put on there is a lot rougher than and more edgier than the one on the album.
yeah, it was a better version, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
it sounded more, yeah.
yeah, you know, the guy that mixed that record, he put this effect on the guitar and stuff, and it kind of washed it down. I think I was using a high watt amplifier, which actually sounds like razor blades when you're playing it. It's just like really aggressive sounding. But when you put a set of drums with cymbals and a bunch of frequencies around it, it just sounds really edgy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you guys had the music video for Mystery Girl directed by Chuck Statler. Is that do you have a copy of that video? Because I've always been curious what that looks like.
No, but you know, I'm being inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Oh wow.
So now I'm finally trying to, you know, I haven't had a web page or anything where people could have access to any of my music.
Right.
And I have over 100 songs. And so I'll put the Melvin James record on there and the Crash Street Kids record, and so people can have access to music, and also a lot of tracks that haven't ever been heard yet. But I'm just in the process of putting that together. Right now I'm shooting video of one song called Everybody's Looking for the Sunshine, and then
Okay.
another song called Be My Recovery.
Okay. That's cool. That'll be nice to see, because I was gonna ask if there were any other songs recorded at that time that were just not released, obviously.
Yeah, actually, I dug up this track. I wrote this song called Vaseline Trampoline. That was a really cool song. And then this other song that I've never finished the lyrics to. That's like a great song. It's really kind of fast, but it's got hints of like the Police in it or something. It's just kind of different, a little like Entwistle playing bass on a punk rock song, kind of.
Oh, cool.
But so I'd like to finish that, and I want to remix Vaseline Trampoline, and I'll get that out. And there's a few other songs too.
Okay. And going back to the music video for Mystery Girl, I know that I read that it was filmed on the Amtrak, but what exactly went on in the video? Like, was it creepy like the song, or what was the whole plot?
Chuck directed it, and he had the concept. We didn't even ask any questions. We just said, "Where do you want us?"
Oh,
And he said, "Oh, you guys are detectives, and so here, you know, wear a trench coat, and you're following this girl or whatever. Stand over here." And I thought it would be cool. I don't know if it's because I was thinking of Columbo or something, to smoke a cigar. So, but that cigar pretty much, I mean, I didn't throw up or anything, but by the end of the day, it was pretty toxic.
so you had to, how long were you filming?
Probably 9 hours.
Okay, and that was completely in and around the Minneapolis area then?
Right. I can't even remember exactly where. I mean, yeah, the Amtrak shot, and then the room with the checkerboards on the floor. I don't know. I can't remember where that was.
That's really cool. I wish that it was online somewhere, because once I heard mention of that, I'm like, I have to see this.
Yeah, I mean, I did just talk to Chuck Statler recently
Oh,
and asked if he could find a copy, and he's
okay,
looking for me. So,
okay. That's cool.
yeah.
And then I actually, for the first time ever, just the other day, I saw the the promotional poster for the album.
Uh-huh.
Do you still have a lot of the merchandise?
I have some of those posters. I could send one off to you.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Um, I don't. I really liked the T-shirts too. They were pretty cool. It was like the broken glass with the Crash Street Kids on it.
Right.
Of course, you know, I mean, I just did a Crash Street Kid reunion show about 1.5 years ago in Uptown.
Yeah.
We did all the songs off the record. And, but, you know, not being 22 years old and singing Little Girls was a little interesting.
Right.
And then, of course, you know, when we made the album cover, somebody that was knew the record label said, "You want a little girl to be in it?" So their daughter is sitting in the car, and there's this rock and roll band standing outside the car.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Actually,
wouldn't float today, but
yeah, right. When I was looking at the credits for the album, I saw that it was engineered by Frank Whewell, who was of the Hawks, and that's one of my favorite bands too.
I just saw him day before yesterday. Just had lunch with him.
So you guys are good friends, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And Kurt Kaufman, who's the guitar player in the band.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that they would have gotten major attention too. I mean, obviously they were on Columbia, but they're so amazing. I wish they got more recognition.
Yeah. Talented.
Another question. I was talking to someone in the group, in the Twin Cities music scene group, and they said they had a story about how Crash Street Kids played some kind of event in Iowa, and he traded you a live recording that he made of the jam in exchange for him to record your guys' show, and he offered to send it to me, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool story.
Yeah, I'd like to have a copy of that because I don't even remember it, but yeah.
So, was there any? Do you have any live recordings of from back then, or no?
You know, I haven't been very good at keeping track of my stuff.
Oh,
I'm just, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff I wish I had.
yeah,
But I maybe I do, packed in, you know, somewhere deep in a closet somewhere or something. At
right.
some point when I have enough time to go through all that stuff, I'll dig it out.
Another thing I wanted to ask, I don't even know if you're aware, but there's a there's a lot of people that really have taken notice. Just searching the hashtag of Crash Street Kids on Instagram, and there's people in Japan posting the album and writing everything about the album in Japanese, and it's amazing that a local album from this area has that much longevity now, especially when it didn't get a major label.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even now when I, you know, just doing that reunion show, all of those songs, you know, and people that had never heard the record were
Right.
asking about it and wondering where they could get a copy. So, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think the songs are good songs, and they've withstood the test of time, I think.
Right. Because I haven't really heard any other examples of dark power pop music besides that album.
Right.
Everything else is kind of more lighthearted around that time, which I mean, I guess power pop's kind of meant to be that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, actually, when it comes to doing the Planet Melvin records and or all of my records, I actually have to throw out dark songs. So
Oh,
I have more of a more stockpile of those songs, because to keep the record kind of up,
right.
you know. So yeah, it's probably I tend to lean that way, but I like doing both. I usually, when I write a song, I'll write up, down, up, down. But even my songs that are up sometimes seem to have some pretty dark passages in them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the whole thing about having darker songs in general, especially for bands like that, it was more of an early '80s thing. It wasn't really more of a later '80s and beyond that thing, from what I've noticed.
Interesting. Yeah.
It seemed more okay to be edgier in the early part of the decade, and then in comparison to later on.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you're right. I never thought of that.
I was I shared Mystery Girl with a friend of mine last night, and they said that they something I didn't even think of, that they were reminded that it sounded like 1981 to '83 era Blue Oyster Cult, and I can kind of see that now. Maybe that's just me, but
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. You know, my inspirations are T-Rex. I mean, besides, you know, by the time I was in the Crash Kids, it wasn't about playing solos anymore. Matter of fact, I
yeah,
made a point of not playing any solos, even
right,
though I could play all those solos, because I went through in the 70s, like Deep Purple and Uriah Heep and Led Zeppelin and everything like that. And then
right,
when I moved to Minneapolis, I got kind of turned on to the new wave thing, and it
yeah,
became more about just songwriting and more of a new wave kind of a thing, and it just wasn't cool to play solos.
yeah.
So so basically, I just focused on honing my songwriting and stuff.
What was it like playing that kind of music in this area back then, but when artists like Prince and the time were kind of up and coming and doing and kind of overtaking, or did you not really
I
encounter?
didn't really, I wasn't even paying attention to them at that point. You know,
Okay.
there was, stuff was going on like the Police and the Cars and U2
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So it was, I was more in tune with that kind of scene.
I saw an article. It was something. I think it was like Minneapolis Music Awards 1983, and there was like a long list of different nominees and best song, music video, whatever, and you guys were on it for a couple different categories. Was that like an event you were at too, or was that just, do you even remember that?
What year was that?
83, 82 or
Uh,
83.
yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I mean, our record was out then and
Yeah,
it became kind of popular. I mean, we never totally blew up like the Suburbs did, or the
right.
old. They had really big crowds and stuff, but we kind of had an underground kind of thing.
Did you guys ever play with Chameleon?
I think we did, yeah.
Like several times, or just because I know
No,
at that time they were kind of big.
once or twice. Matter of fact, my manager at the time, I had already had Geffen coming out to see the band,
Okay.
and my manager was managing Chameleon, and
Oh,
picked up Michael Rosenblatt, who is from MCA, at the
right.
airport to take him into town. And from the airport, he just put on my cassette. And after the first song, he made him turn it off and he said, "Who's this guy? This is who I want to sign."
Wow.
So ironically, he came to the Caboose because this is where the band was going to be playing that night. And I was there talking about building the stage out to do this show for Geffen. And I ran into Michael and he said, "Hey, I love your stuff. I want to talk to you. I want to sign you." And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." So I said, "You want to come see the band? We're playing next week. Geffen will be here." And he said, "No, I can't do it." But that I ended up signing with Geffen, or I mean with MCA.
MCA, yeah.
And so that was, that's just how things kind of work out. It's like when we were in the studio working on my demos after the Crash Street Kids crashed and my drummer broke his collarbone and Gary screwed up his neck too. Then I went back to my studio roots and just started writing more songs, and we just sent out packages looking on the back of albums with
Right.
addresses and sent out the cassettes, and immediately Atlantic called us back and said they were interested, and then Geffen was interested, and it just kept snowballing. And we had Warner Brothers, we had EMI, Geffen, MCA. I guess that's it. But all in kind of a, well, they weren't all involved in the bidding war in the end, but there were three that were.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, just, you work and you do all that stuff. And the funny thing is too, is with, then I had this band Planet Melvin, and even with my MCA record deal or the Crash Street Kids and all of that stuff, we had charted in the upper 6-state region this song called "Having Fun" by
Yeah.
Planet Melvin, and we couldn't get any record sales. I mean, we were putting the record in stores, and in some of these markets, it was like in the top 10, and it
Right.
wasn't amounting to anything. So I said, I quit. Well, then the guy was driving through Iowa on his way back to LA from New York, and he heard this song, called me, and he wanted to put in a movie at Paramount. So I worked out a licensing agreement,
Wow.
and they and I called him 2 weeks later to see how it was going. He said, sorry, we couldn't use it. Well, a couple weeks after that, I got a call from Spielberg's office, and they wanted it. It was in, Without a Paddle and She's the Man and
Yeah.
a bunch of these other things. So it's actually the only time I really made any money was from these movies.
That's the cool.
I was starting to say early on about my influences, from the guitar gods and coming up to, so I had two things. I had the guitar gods, and then I had my glam rock in the 70s. So Bowie, T-Rex, Mott the Hoople. So are you familiar with T-Rex?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan, and probably part of my vocal technique is a combination of English, the Beatles, and T-Rex, and even a little bit of Ian Hunter, which is actually a fan of Bob Dylan. And at that time I wasn't. I'm a big fan now, but all those things kind of feed into your style and how your voice sounds.
And going on one thing that you said I didn't ask yet, how did the Craft Street Kids break up? Was it because of an accident?
Yeah, the accident. The accident is kind of started at the beginning of the breakup, but it was a personality conflict in the band. It's hard when you're in a band. It's like you're married to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has different things that are probably annoying. I mean, some people, I'm probably not the easiest person to get along with, and neither are some other people I know.
I was wondering about what the story of that was, if it was something to do with like a major label artist that you guys shared a bill with, and there was like a falling out, or what the whole story was behind that.
No, it was kind of like an interpersonal issue. And then once I started working on the solo stuff and getting that interest, it seemed like more work to go back to
a band.
But the band was great, and I wish I would have hung with them. That's probably how most bands feel. They go through this thing, and then they go, it just isn't worth it because I'm
Yeah.
And then they look back later and go, yeah, but it was a great band. It probably would have been worth it if I would have thought about things differently.
And I know obviously Gary passed away, but whatever happened to Randy?
He's still around and owns a vacuum cleaner shop, and yeah.
like locally here too?
Yeah, it's called Vac It Up.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, he actually made the mistake of, it's his personality kind of to think that's kind of funny, and he did some advertising in the newspaper or something. He had a bunch of women's groups out there because I think he must have had some cartoons or something that were maybe showing a little risque display of, backing it up, I guess.
Let's see. Do you remember how it was promoted?
How what was promoted?
How well the album was promoted, like locally, and pretty well, right? Or no?
In certain respects. I mean, he got the Playboy interview and he got the Rolling Stone interview, or not interview, review. So that was cool. And he had Chuck Statler do the video. That was cool. But I mean, knowing that all these record labels out there would have picked us up, if he would have been smart, he would have shopped us to some labels.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
So then after the breakup, you immediately went to doing solo stuff.
Yeah.
4 years or so to get a deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Do you know when the Crash Street Kids broke up? Must have been 84 or 5, or was it?
I think I read 84.
Okay. Yeah, and then I got signed in 85, but my record didn't come out till 87.
Okay. So you recorded everything for your solo album in 85 too? Or what?
The demos that I had cut at the studio, you know, that Frank and Kirk
Yeah.
owned. Those songs on the Melvin James record, that was Why Won't You Stay, that was the demo. Loving You Strange
Right.
was the demo. There might have been one other song that was the demo, and then we recut everything else for the MCA record.
Okay. There's actually, going off the YouTube, but the music videos for the songs on that album, there's a lot of people that really love that. It's like my favorite song. I heard it on K-Rock in Los Angeles.
Which song?
You're like the different music videos, the songs that you did for your solo album.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a party in West Hollywood, and I think it was the first time I ever saw a large television, you know, flat screen TV. Wow, look at that. And they're playing MTV, and my video came on, and everybody at the party, I didn't know anybody.
Right.
And they looked at me because I was wearing the same jacket I had on the video, and they said, "Oh, that's you." So I had a couple instances like that. I was sitting with my dad in Des Moines, Iowa, at a mall and eating an egg roll. I probably had grease running down my chin or something. I'm underneath this television sitting across from my dad.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I just came on the screen, and my dad jumped up and pointed at me and yelled, "It's him."
Mm-hmm. Did you meet any well-known when you were in LA at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, the same guy that I lived with when I moved to Minneapolis now then lived in Miami. And so I went down to Miami to do some writing. And so I was just out with my notepad and everything, just trying to hang out in places, and went to this bar called Woody's. And it was Ron Wood's bar.
Oh.
And I went to the door. There was a line of people there, and the guy saw me and just grabbed me by the arms, and he goes, "Melvin James, come in." Of course, I had like three singles in Miami. So he walked me upstairs, and so I'm hanging out with Ron Wood and the drummer for Bad Company, and
Wow.
Simon Kirk, and a couple other rock stars. But yeah, I mean, and you know, Bill Szymczyk co-produced that record, and I was at his wedding, and I have a song called "She's So Sorry" on that record, and my line goes, "She stepped inside and closed the door," and there's door slams. And that door, Szymczyk brought in the recording of Joe Walsh's "Life's Been Good to Me."
Oh, wow.
My Maserati does 185.
Yeah.
And he's got the line that goes, "I get so drunk that I can't find the door," and the door slams. So we took the recording off of there and we stuck it on my record. So
Oh, that's
anyway,
interesting.
I'm in Key Biscayne, and at Simzik's wedding, and he goes, "Man, here, you got to meet Joe. He's a gas." And so Joe comes over to the table and he says, "Melvin, I want you to meet Joe Melvin." And I go, "Hey, Joe, man, thanks for your door. Thanks for letting me use your door." And he goes, "My door's always open."
That's a great story.
Yeah, he's a total character.
And then, and I saw mentioned in your other interview that you did the other year that your music videos, or at least one of them, overtopped Madonna and Michael Jackson.
Right.
That's pretty. That's must feel pretty cool, or at least it did back then.
It's kind of irrelevant because, you know, there's been out and been on the top of the charts for a long time, and then they come, you know, then they come down, and mine was
Right.
just brand new, so it really doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything.
And then were all music videos mostly shot in Los Angeles, or were some that you came back here to shoot?
On that record, you know, "Why Won't You Stay" and "Loving You Is Strange." "Why Won't You Stay" was just shot outside of Los Angeles at the Kaiser Steel Mill, where the place, if you ever seen the movie The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And we shot for 23 hours straight.
Wow.
And we had like 99 man crew, 4 semis with Muscolites, and
Jeez.
yeah, it was quite the experience shooting that video. And the next video that we did, "Loving You Is Strange," we shot that in Austin, Texas. And I think that was a Vargas Circus that we shot. I think we probably had a 30-man crew, and we shot for 2 days. And then the other one, Twisted, that was shot in on 280 in, I guess that's Minneapolis.
Right.
280 and Broadway, right around there.
Did you have a hand in the concept of the videos too, or was that also left up to the director again?
The both of the "Why Won't You Stay" and "Loving You Is Strange," that was the director's ideas. And Twisted, I've had a bigger hand in.
Okay.
I mean, the videos that I'm doing now, I'm pretty much self-directing those.
Right. So how, like, why exactly did you have to shoot one of them for like basically a whole day in a row? Was it just so much was involved?
Yeah, it's, you know, they have to set up a little railroad track for the camera to roll around on, and then they got to pack up the railroad track and move it to another location. And they got a rain machine, so you set up a rain machine in a certain area. I think we shot in maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 8 locations. So, you know, tearing everything down, moving it to the new location. And then our makeup guy, Angelo DuBois, who had been partying very heavily, and, you know, the night before that, who he's like David Bowie's stylist or whatever. He's the one who created the Duran Duran haircuts. But anyway, he was partying, and so every time we'd be on set and they'd call us to go, "Okay, where's Angelo? Where's Angelo?" And then you'd see Angelo coming up over the hill with his makeup pad and everything, prancing up over the top of the hill because he was always late everywhere because he was passing out constantly because he was so tired from partying the night before.
Yeah. That's interesting because, and vocally, I was gonna say on the solo album, the songs sort of remind me of darker In Excess, like darker Michael Hutchence. It kind of has that, to me, it has that sound, like your voice on that album.
Yeah. I'm such a perfectionist, but I don't, even with my songs or my recordings or anything, I always feel like I only get like 1 out of every 20 that I'm totally happy with.
Oh.
So it's like, but I'm sure that's how everybody feels. I mean, Lennon hated his voice. He always wanted to bury it in, an echo, and
Yeah.
It's self-critical.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite song off the Crash Street Kids record?
I think I like Mystery Girl as much as I like Tears.
As much as you like what?
Tears.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because Tears has it sounds ahead of its time. It doesn't really sound like it's from '82. To me, it sounds as though it's, I don't know, it's from the 90s or something.
Yeah, there are some people that really like that song, and then some people thought that they didn't like that song that much on that record. In figuring out all those songs and performing them, I actually started the whole show with Tears.
Okay.
It's a great way to start the show.
Yeah, I agree. I can also definitely hear the raspberry sound in some of the songs, like the Playboy Right Up mentioned, especially in Tears. That's more of a lighter song, obviously.
Right.
On your song, one of your songs or some of your songs on the solo album, that you do the same, like, eerie, whispery intro like you did with Mystery Girl.
Uh-huh.
Is that just something that
Why won't you stay? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that just something that you want to do to make it stand out?
I don't know. I guess I probably did it because it's human. It's like it just, to me, it was a human kind of sound, and so I liked it.
Right.
Yeah, instead of singing or something.
Well, I think to me, especially, it was intriguing because I'm a really big fan of horror, so it just kind of made me perk up. Like, I remember the first time I heard Mystery Girl. It's like, this definitely has my attention.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for being a fan.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I got the chance to get in contact with you, because I had been in the Twin Cities music scene group for a long time, and I'd posted about the album before. I was trying to see if you had like a social media account, but I couldn't find anything.
Right. Yeah, I'm like the only person that doesn't. I mean, it's like I don't even know anybody, any of my other friends who play now or who don't play. They all have something.
And you just,
I'm always just moving on to wherever I'm going next. But now I want to get, I'm going to be doing some videos of a bunch of tunes, and then try to get my stuff out there so people can have access to it.
right. Do you ever go around to different record stores in Minneapolis?
Not very much. I spent my whole life, probably from the time I was like 10 years old or whatever, listening to music all day long, and and focus and focus and focus. And
Right.
I used to skip school and play my guitar until my fingers bled, because then I'd know that I'd be great, because I just play. The more I played, the better I'd get.
Right.
And so I was always driven, and then to write songs too, or performance or anything. And I think to a certain extent, I kind of burned myself out on just, being so focused and so intense about it.
Right.
That I'm just now actually just starting to get back into, making these videos and pulling out old songs, finishing songs, and maybe doing some acoustic things. And
Yeah. I was also curious what your memories of specific well-known clubs in the area that are long since defunct, like Duffy's and places like that.
Duffy's was the greatest. I mean, it was a strange club to play because the stage is like under this dome, and in the dome it's super echoey and everything, so it gets kind of crazy and loud in the dome. But I like the layout of that club. That's probably one of my favorite clubs. But I've had good shows and good times at the Caboose, and there's the 400 Bar and First Avenue. I haven't played there that many times, probably 8 times in all or something. And the Entry is a cool club too, and it's still going. There was a club called Goofy's. I kind of missed the Longhorn. I had gotten into town, and by the time I'd gotten into town, the Crash Street Kids gotten going. That was almost over with. So.
Oh. Was the audience reception in most places in Minneapolis always positive?
Yeah. I think we always had a really high energy show. I mean, my songs, generally speaking, have a kind of pushy feel to them. They're kind of on the edge a little bit, as far as they kind of make you lean forward a little bit. And and we'd actually play stuff even a little bit faster live, and we always got really good responses.
That's good. Was there any kind of rivalry between you guys and other local bands at the time, or like was everything positive with that too?
I think there is mutual respect for each other, but there's always probably that competitive, wanting to, if you heard something good, to maybe try to write something better, or if somebody has a better following, then doggone it, I should have had as many people as they had, or whatever. All that kind of nonsense. But
yeah,
it was pretty healthy competition. I sometimes felt like, when I got signed, that a lot of people weren't as happy.
Oh,
but, but it is what it is. We're all human.
So is there no event that you can think of that ever happened back then with the Crash Street Kids playing at a club around here locally where there was some big falling out with somebody or the audience or nothing like that?
Yeah, we were playing this place, I think it was called the Bone Shaker, and my bass player, I think he had a cast on his hand because he was driving home with his girlfriend in Uptown, and a couple guys threw a brick through his front window of his car.
Oh.
So he pulled his car over and went after the guys and got in a fight with them and broke his hand.
Oh.
So now he's playing with a cast on his hand, and we're playing this show at the bone shaker, and something happened, and a fight was gonna ensue. So it ended up being a total brawl, and it was
Wow.
me and my bass player and my drummer all in this fight. And then the bouncers were involved too, and we didn't know who the bouncers were, and in this brawl.
Right.
I remember I had a glass in my hand, and I went to hit somebody, and the glass broke in my hand as I was hitting this person. I don't fight people, so this is not a character for me, but I was kind of protecting him because he was hurt and it was getting in this fight. And all of a sudden, both of us, this guy that I broke this glass, who ended up being a bouncer, I didn't know. We both just stopped because we knew it was glass and it had just broken in my stomach. But it didn't cut my hand, and it didn't cut him. But then he got me in a chokehold, and that was it,
Yeah. Wow.
But I remember playing a show. I was with Planet Melvin, and this was just before they wouldn't let you use pyro, and we had pyro, and we had all this stuff going off, and I got this stuff from the guy that does Kiss and Prince.
Oh.
And he must have given me some outdoor stuff because we blew this stuff off indoors. And there's about 180 people that all had to evacuate the bar because it was so smoky in there you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And the bartender and the owner of the club was not real happy about that because those people aren't drinking when they're outside coughing and wiping their eyes. The Crash Street Kids, the crash we got in, that was pretty, that was with our A&R guy, president of our label, actually, hanging out after Jerry Lewis telethon, going to the bar and drinking until 2 a.m, and then driving 100 miles an hour through the Dakotas and flip the car over, which I thought we were going to drown. The window broke out of the car, and all this ice and sludge and all this weeds and stuff blew in the car. It impacted inside of my wallet and inside of every pocket. I had a leather jacket on. I ended up with a cut under my arm. I had this jacket on. I don't know how that happened, but just impact because the pressure was so much. But fortunately, after the car flipped upside down and the front window broke out, it flipped right side up, and we were able to get out of the car and hobble up to the road. But we're covered with all this mud and all these weeds and stuff from being in this thing, and not hardly any cars would come along, and every time they did, they just swerve out of the way and take off because we looked so crazy.
Right.
And we went to this farmhouse, and they called an ambulance, and we all climbed in an ambulance, and then they took us to the hospital, and my drummer had a broken collarbone, and my bass player screwed up his neck, and then the sheriff came interrogating us because he wanted to know who was driving, and we weren't going to say that it was the president of our label because he didn't even have a driver's license. So we made up a story that it was some guy wearing a Levi jacket that we picked up hitchhiking because we drank too much. And so they interrogated us. And when they got to Gary's room, he went into a rage and started yelling really loud, scared everybody in the hospital, screaming at the sheriff and stuff. So the sheriff came out and said, "Fuck it. I don't care, whatever." So, and then we sat around in our gowns in the hospital for about 5 hours, and then we hired a Piper plane and flew a little, what is it, 4-seater Piper plane back to Minneapolis.
That's
Crashed with
wild.
his crashed. Yeah.
I was gonna well, it's related to this, but so there was no major incident or negative interaction with any major label bands ever that you guys played with, really?
Not really. Mostly they didn't. They were in their dressing room and they stuck us somewhere else, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they didn't. You know, we didn't really deal with them very much. They, you know, we would deal with their road manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said you gave examples of Iggy Pop, Tommy Two Tone, and Missing Persons. Is there like way more that?
Joan, Jett. Um, yeah, there are more, but I can't really remember. And a lot of the people too were people that hadn't really made it yet. Like at
Right.
Duffy's, you know, John Cougar played there. He hadn't made it yet. It's like all these
Right.
people were We played with David Johansen from the New York Dolls.
Wow.
You know, probably if I were to ask like my light man or something, he would know
Okay.
because they paid attention a little more.
So did you guys, when you just mentioned John Mellencamp, did you play with him, or did you just?
No,
No.
he played like a week after we played there, but nobody knew who he was or anything, and nobody
Right.
went down to see him because they didn't know who he was. But then, you know, then he breaks it later.
And then did you ever interact with Joan when you guys opened for her? Because I'm a big fan of her.
Yeah, no. I mean, I, I probably nodded at her when she's walking by or something, but that's about it.
Oh, okay. I'm actually a fan of John Mellencamp too, but I like his earlier rock stuff more than his southern stuff.
Right. Cool.
He seems to disown all the rock stuff now.
Oh yeah.
Did you or the band, did you ever meet Prince or any Minneapolis sound artists?
I ran into Prince a few times, and when Geffen was courting me after the MCA deal, we had I got a small budget, and Prince offered to let us use his auditorium, which was awesome. It was his PA that he took on the road with him, and we have the PA facing us. Normally, when you're playing, the PA's facing the audience.
Right.
And when it's facing you, you tend to, for one thing, you don't play a fast song because the sound's so big that it would get lost. So everything seemed to be a little, that we were writing happened to be a little slower with more space in it. But it was really awesome. And one day I was leaving the space to go to the bathroom or something, and I accidentally knocked the door into Prince because he was listening outside the door.
Wow.
And that's probably the most conversation I had with him was, "Oh, excuse me," you know, that kind of thing.
That's really cool though, because I remember looking into him more as I grew up, and just he was a genius, obviously.
Right.
So, I guess one of the last things I can ask is, around the time of the Crash Street Kids, what were you guys listening to musically? Like, what were you fans of?
We were listening to Bob Marley and fast reggae ska, like English beat, and the Police. U2. We went to see you. We actually played. We covered "I Will Follow."
Yeah.
Long before the record was available, because we had this guy Tommy Votel that worked at a record store, and he would get this stuff that was going to be coming.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned us on to that, and we thought, oh, let's cover that. So everybody thought we wrote that song, but we really hadn't. And so let me see. We're listening to The Police. And you know, the new stuff coming out, the Cars, and
right.
Yeah, I can't really. Oh, Iggy Pop, Lust for Life, and all that stuff. A little Velvet Underground. I was still always listening to T-Rex, The Slider, and you know, Mott the Hoople Live and stuff. Yeah.
Bands in concert at clubs and stuff then too.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We were out every night. We were either we were rehearsing and then going out every night, and either that or playing constantly every day. And you know, actually, I was just talking to a drummer that was in one of my early bands, and he goes, "No, still to this day, of all the bands I've played in," he goes, "when I played with you, we were the most rehearsed band because I would just play forever, where everything was so tight, where it would be so memory locked in that you wouldn't ever have to think about anything, and work on the nuances of dynamics and harmonies and stuff like that to just make it extra tight." And so, yeah.
Were you not really a fan of, I don't know, like radio rock stuff like Foreigner or back then? Or did you still?
I did listen to it, and I guess I was kind of, I guess I was digging it. I thought it was cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Because probably my single favorite male solo artist is Benny Mardones. And he just passed away, and yeah, he was. I don't know if you really know his music back into the night, but he was just a incredible singer, like unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I know, man. He had the range, and he could pump out that. Before they came along, there wasn't really anyone that sounded quite like that in that upper high energy, high range.
Right. And my single favorite female artist is probably Joan Jett, but I like a lot too.
Who do you like?
Joan Jett, and Pat Benatar.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Did you really like female rock artists then or now, or what was your stance?
I don't know. I was probably, I don't know. I was probably, rock seemed to be more of a male kind of thing.
Yeah.
A little more testosterone. So I kind of appreciated Blondie.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't trying to be tough. She was just, she did her own thing, but the music was cool or interesting, new wave, whatever. Right. But, you know, Pat Benatar is great. And, yeah. And Joan Jett covering Crimson and Clover. I love Crimson and Clover. It's one of my, I always wished I would have written that song. And I tell a lot of my artist friends that, and they go, "What?"
I actually recently interviewed Billy Steinberg. He was a songwriter who wrote Like a Virgin, True Colors, So Emotional, Eternal Flame, like a bunch of huge songs. And he was actually, in, before he was famous, before he made it as a songwriter, he was in a dark power pop group that didn't have a major label, but three of the songs that he performed with them and wrote were done by Rick Nelson, Linda Ronstadt, and Pat Benatar all in 1980, and that's how he kind of broke out.
Wow. Those are some great songs.
Yeah, because the first song that that someone covered was Linda Ronstadt doing "How Do I Make You"
Wow.
when she was doing the new wave rock thing. So that was a really amazing interview.
That's awesome. Good luck.
Oh, thanks. I'm hoping I can interview more musicians and actors, and it's really fun to do this and ask people stuff that they've never really been asked before.
Yeah, you do a good job.
Oh, thank you. Because I know the only interviews I could really find with you were the one on YouTube from the other year, and then like a little small one when you did the Crash Street Kids reunion. But there was never anything up where you were talking in detail about your career.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get out there a little now.
Well, thanks. I'll be sure to share this in a lot of outlets.
Yeah, and feel free to edit this if it gets too long.
Okay.
Okay, man.
Thanks.
I'll be in touch, and if I can find one of those posters, I'll get it off to you and let you know about these videos.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I live in Woodbury,
Yeah.
so I'm super duper close.
Yeah, I'm gonna save your number.
Okay.
Chris, interview. That's all I'll remember.
Okay.
Okay, man.
Thanks. I'll be sure
Great to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I'll be sure to send you the link once I have it uploaded and everything.
Thanks a lot.